Okay, they're going to show the kidnapping after this video is going to rewind and then go into slow motion. I think that's when they show the kidnapping. It's either that or they show the police kicking somebody in the groin right after the rewind. So pay attention, focus your attention there. Yeah, we're getting the mic on.
Did they give you any warning?
No, they sprayed me and then I looked up again, they sprayed the ball right at me and got me.
So there's no warning?
No, they announced on the megaphone, but we couldn't even hear what they were saying. There's no warning. We were arrested. There were people that were put aside. There were people who would walk to the side, who were told they were not going to be arrested if they walked to the side. Were then barricaded in and charged. They were not. They were told to leave. They were just charged. People charged in. They were charged like running. Charged in, hogtied. Cameras are more interested in covering, you know, the chaos. What's going on inside. And so a certified NGO who's in the conference, listening to all the closed-door legislation they're doing, and it's Victor Minotti. I haven't heard any news.
That's Victor Minotti right there, in the black beret.
Waiting to the left of me on 4th Avenue, behind the police cordon, and they opened up, they zipped in, they popped open the door, they threw Victor in, and they were gone. And it was that quick.
So again, they're going to be showing these Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And if anybody else has a video that they'd like to show, could you come let us know up front, or else we're going to break this down.
Thank you. Is Harriet 32, you're next. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Harriet Walden, and I'm speaking for Mothers for Police Accountability. I'd like to thank the Seattle Police Department for actually making our work have credibility. We have been around for 9 years and talked about police accountability and police brutality, and it is a righteous issue. And we stand here with everyone else that was a part of this ugliness in Seattle. Between 30th November, from November 30th to December 3rd and 4th, I mean, it was hundreds of people here, thousands of people here who were protesting peaceful. We welcome everybody to join us in calling for an elected civilian review board with subpoena power for the demilitarizing of the police department. What we saw was warfare, and we want to know why we have warfare here. For the outlawing of the use of pepper spray, Australia outlawed it as a lethal weapon, and so we're calling for that here in Seattle. We also want the city council is the employee of the Seattle police force and is ultimately responsible for the militarizing of the police department. This was a weed and seed action. We like to know how much all those uniforms and all that equipment cost that the police had on the other day. We want to know where that money come from. Did it come in with a law enforcement component? Also, we like to find out, the question on the board is to find out if the police that was at the rally on Saturday, if they were on the clock. We want to know if they were on the clock down there in the rally at Westlake Square, Westlake Mall. And if they were on the clock, we want to know, we want their pay to be docked. They should not be paid for protesting that day in Westlake Square. All right. So, actually, we would like to also welcome everyone to join Mothers for Police Accountability. Our number is 329-2033. Thanks.
Thank you. Cynthia is number 33. I'm sorry, I can't read it. Wobble. Followed by Andre Roberts.
Yes,
34.
I'm Cynthia, and I signed up for Terry Allred, who's the Seattle spokesperson for the Revolutionary Communist Party, is going to speak. And Don Alexander also would like people, he's going to lift his hat to file complaints with the Human Rights Commission. So I'm presenting a revolutionary sister, Terry Allred.
Thanks. We're proud, very proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with all the people that poured across the border and poured out from out the country. We welcome those outside agitators. We sent a shout around the world. We did it. I have a quote I want to read. It's an unknown quote, but the saying goes, and I think it's real appropriate for the WTO and for the war against Iraq and a number of other things. The saying goes, steal an apple, they call you a thief. Steal a country, they call you an emperor. I was tear gassed at Nike Town, Ground Zero, on the 30th of November, where people were reorganizing real estate with no warning, with no provocation. I was also tear gassed up on Capitol Hill on December 1st as the cops came up into a peaceful crowd, drove their car through it, and then opened vanfuls of Metro Police. I had a gastrointestinal flu-like symptoms for the past 2 weeks. This was a military operation. It was pre-planned. It looked to some like Vietnam, where everybody was the enemy. And that's exactly how they treated people. As a revolutionary, I have felt the sting of the police baton many times. I have had my head cracked open. I've been arrested 25 times over the past several years with 2 convictions. 2 convictions. So I know a lot about police brutality. And frankly, so do the basic people in this society. The people on the bottom of the society. This is something new for a lot of middle-class activists, and this is the new millennium. This is how the new millennium will start, with our wake-up call. Who are the real targets of police brutality? I'll tell you who they are. You know, the real targets are like Michael Ealy. Pepper spray was one of the things they used to kill this brother. The real targets, you know, are the youth who are being criminalized by gang databases, curfews, street strike laws. Beautiful young brothers and sisters are locked up, beat down, shot down in record numbers by racist cops and prison guards, set up by pre-hearted judges and heartless bureaucrats. U.S. has the largest prison population in the world. Almost 2 million people, and most of them are young. Just chilling out or driving a fancy car can mean getting sweated or even killed by the cops. So I'm saying, who are the real criminals? Across the country, people know who the real criminals are. Let's say a few names. Amadou Diallo shot 19 times in the back. Michael Ealy, killed by the Seattle police last year. Rodney King, beat by the police. I say the real criminals are the system. For many people, this raises the question about what kind of country this is, what kind of future we're looking at, what kind of society do we live in where people of color are shot down, where youth are criminalized, where wearing black becomes a crime. And while they're doing this, prisons are overflowing, education is cut to the bone, black and Latinas are harassed. The Revolutionary Communist Party is all the way down with this struggle to get justice. But we also know to get real justice, we need a revolution in this country.
I'm sorry,
and that means destroying the system. Okay, and my final shout out, and it's not a question, it's more of a statement. I don't think this is going anywhere, but I'll tell you something, we're not going anywhere either. Thank you.
Andre Roberts, followed by number 35, John Munari. 36 is Gregory Gaddo.
I'd like to say hello. Name is Andre Roberts. Michael Wheatley's first cousin. Unfortunately, we had to have this situation happen here, and a lot of you didn't really realize till this hit home, huh? Once it hit home, you feel it a little bit better. Police brutality is ridiculous. The only way that we're going to be able to do something about this is, first and foremost, is hold the individuals accountable for their actions. Okay, I think we all need to thank the inventor of video cameras. Okay. I guess in incidents like the Rodney King and other incidents, they tell you don't believe your eyes, but you better believe them. Okay, police attitudes. A lot of us, a few of us spoke on the attitudes of the police. Well, I think they need to be checked. Okay. The cover-ups around the police department and other things. Well, first and foremost, if you don't feel like doing anything about them, and if they can't do their jobs, they need to step up off. We also need to get together as a community and as a whole and as a large. Okay, we all are victims. Okay, and if we don't know who's going to be next. Okay. I'm a member of the I'm the member of Michael Randall Wheatley Social Justice Fund. We meet on every first Thursday, and we like for all of the individuals that have police brutality issues to please come join us, and let's gather as a whole and get together and stop this madness. Thank you. We meet at the AME Zion Church right on 23rd, every Thursday. And we have a candle vigil. Time is at 6:30. We also have a candle vigil for Michael Wheatley on the 17th. We'd like for you all to attend at 4 p.m. Thanks. At 3rd and James.
John Munari, followed by Gregory, and then Barry Ellis will be number 37.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to say I've enjoyed all the speakers, and if I stay till 10 o'clock tonight, I have a feeling I'll continue to do the same. My name is John Munari. I'm a Seattle native and resident. I work in the software industry, and I participated in the AFL-CIO March on Tuesday, November 30th. Before I go on my main point, I want to just ask my fellow protesters what we could have done to prevent some of the looting. You know, I think it's up to organizers in the AFL, the CIO, the Direct Action Network to perhaps hire uniformed security personnel. Oh, wait, it gets better. Okay. The reason why is, in an ideal world, the police would have been out there to protect private property, people from injury. That didn't happen. And what we need, perhaps it's up to ourselves, police, for riot control. And that was just a kind of a side note. But the main issue I want to get to Okay, is that on 2 separate occasions, actually, the main thing I want to reiterate is my desire to hold accountable everyone who committed unnecessary acts of violence, whether police officers or not. On 2 separate occasions, I inhaled tear gas. If you haven't experienced it, well, let me tell you, it hurts. The first occasion was when I was participating in the AFL-CIO March. The second time was on Wednesday, December 1st, on my way to Seattle Central Community College for an evening course. On both occasions, I was obeying the law. Both times, I was in downtown Seattle, and both times, there was no warning. It was an unwarranted assault. If someone is committing violence or distraction, it would be preferable for the police to arrest those offenders. If the police must use violent force, however, it should be non-lethal and it should be discriminatory.
No violence is necessary. It just creates more violence.
Thank you very much. The doses of tear gas that I received were not serious, but others did receive serious doses. The local, county, and state governments need a serious review of the use of violent force as well as martial law. For every person that speaks here, there are many more who aren't speaking. One of the questions I have to ask is, are the police officers guilty? Are they going to police themselves? Now, I do applaud the police that did show restraint, but not those who violated our most basic human rights. And in conclusion, I too reiterate that I want full accountability for the actions of the Seattle Police Department and other law enforcement agencies and the National Guard. Thank you.
And are you Gregory? Okay. Followed by Barry and then Mike Andrain. I'm sorry, we're at number 38. We have about 160 witnesses left.
My name is Gregory Gatto. I am a resident of Capitol Hill and the national organizer for the American Liberal Party. I've been hearing over the last 2 weeks many people calling for a recall of Mayor Schell. For good or bad, the city charter does not allow for the recall of the mayor. He can be impeached, but only on charges of dereliction of duty or moral turpitude. Please. Therefore, I would like to submit to the City Council 2 proposed amendments to the city charter. I do have print copies available for the media if they would like to take a look at them. The first one would amend Article 5, Section 10 of the Charter to add malfeasance and abuse of executive authority as impeachable offenses. The second amendment would create Article 5, Section 11, which would read as follows. When the mayor has used the authority granted in Article 5, Section 2 to declare a state of emergency, within 90 days after the end of the emergency, a citywide vote of confidence or no confidence in the actions of the mayor shall be held. Upon certification that a majority of votes cast are no confidence, the City Council shall begin proceedings according to Section 10 of this article to remove the mayor from office. It is my hope, while I realize that these 2 measures would not be directly actionable on the events of the last couple of weeks, it is my hope that should a similar event happen in the future, that there is a means whereby the mayor will be held accountable directly by the people for his actions. It is my hope that the City Council will take action upon these as referendums. However, whether they are presented as referenda or initiatives by the people, they will be on the next possible ballot to the people of Seattle. I would like to add that I have been an activist since the age of 14 for more than half of my life, and I am really saddened that it was here in Seattle that the words of Irish poet Brendan Behan were made manifest. Brendan Behan wrote many years ago, "There is no human situation so bad that it cannot be made worse by the presence of a policeman." I am deeply saddened that for the first time in my life, the first time in 16 years as an activist, I saw that actually made present here in Seattle. Thank you.
My name is Barry Ellis. I'm a supporter of the Revolutionary Communist Party. I was one of the people that was arrested up on Broadway on Wednesday night on December 1st by undercover police. My violation was conspiring to possess a Molotov cocktail, which actually was a bottle of water, for everyone to know. Nevertheless, that didn't stop the press and the police from repeating this lie that there was Molotov cocktails on Broadway. They pulled the bottle of water out of somebody's backpack and said, "Here it is, the Molotov cocktail," which is still a bottle of water. But that's some of the documented violence of the protesters. And as luck would have it, I was arrested on Broadway and John. That's the 5th time that I've been arrested on Broadway and John, and that's on that corner. The 5th time by these motherfuckers. Some of the past charges against me, actually all the past charges against me, have been just as ridiculous as the charge this time, which is failure to disperse. For example, in 1995, I was arrested for protesting for Mumia Abu-Jamal. On March 8th, in 1996, I was arrested by the Seattle Police Department for protesting the Seattle Police Department's murder of Edward Anderson, who was killed in Martin Luther King's birthday in January of 1996, shot in the neck from 12 inches away while he had his hands in the air and was unarmed. A murder, by the way, that was justified by the King County prosecutor. And when I was arrested, the police in the jail cell bragged about that murder at the time. A woman told me, and when I went to court after I was arrested, a woman told me that her nose was broken by a police officer, and she asked the police officer, "Why did you break my nose? Why are you doing this to us?" And the officer said, "Because it's our dream." I'm a revolutionary. I believe the police protect and serve a whole system of poverty, homelessness, police brutality, and as we saw with the WTO, the world imperialist exploitation. A system that has no argument but its wealth and power, intimidation, and might makes right. And we didn't see any pro-WTO protesters out there because they didn't have it except for the Darth Vader guys. I think they fear us. Our ideas, energy, our courage, our activism, and I salute the people. And I didn't even expect it to happen, but I salute the nonviolent, courageous protesters who shut down the WTO in this city. And I think this shows us, one thing this shows us is that we should run the world, not you. And I think it means that we're going to have to move from mass resistance to mass armed insurrection, revolution. Thank you.
Mike Andrain, followed by, Mr. Winnow on Pine Street. That's number 39, J8. Jane W. Doe. You've spoken at a couple previous meetings, is that right?
Well, actually, I find it interesting that a few other people have spoken who've already spoke earlier, but you seem to remember me. But I actually volunteered to sign up on a backup list, and they said there was none such available. I said, could you please make one? They said, no, we can't do that. I will go ahead and wait maybe 10 more people and see if we missed some of the first people, but I want to be able to cede my spot right now to someone else who has signed up. That's the only way I'll concede my turn, if I can say who gets to speak in my place.
For right now, it's Mr. Andrain's turn, and why don't you then follow him?
After that, Raul Miranda would like to take my place. And then I'll wait a little bit longer.
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. My name is Mike Andrew. Okay, can you?
That's better? Okay. My name is Mike Andrew. I live at 15th and Pine on Capitol Hill. I want to thank the council members for this opportunity to talk to you. It's just too bad that the city didn't show the same attentiveness to public opinion before the WTO was invited here. You know, y'all have heard a lot of people come and talk about the police lack of restraint. From my observations, restraint was not an issue. From my observations, it seemed to me that there was a coordinated strategy on the part of the police to use violence against a planned strategy, a coordinated strategy to use violence against absolutely peaceful protesters. And I'm not even a revolutionary. I'm just a plain old social democrat. All right? But I'll tell you, I observed early on Tuesday morning, between 10 and 10:15, at the intersection of 6th and Union, police firing tear gas and using pepper spray against absolutely peaceful demonstrators. And many of these people were chained together, sitting down or lying down on the pavement. They were in absolutely no position to take offensive action against anybody. And I want to emphasize to you that the police knew damned well that these people were nonviolent, were committed to nonviolence, would remain nonviolent, because they had been negotiating with the organizations that these people were involved with the Direct Action Network and so on, for days or weeks ahead of time. And the police knew damned well what was going to happen, and nevertheless, they made the decision to use tear gas and pepper spray against absolutely nonviolent demonstrators. And to echo the sentiments of people who spoke beforehand, I hope the City Council will do everything possible to find out who gave the orders to use the tear gas. Similarly, who gave the orders for the police to violate their own rules of engagement and pursue protesters east of the freeway into Capitol Hill? And who gave the orders for the police to beat prisoners in King County Jail? These are the questions that we need to find out, and I see my time is up, and I hope that other speakers will continue to address these points.
Thank you. You're taking Jane Doe's time. Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Raul.
I'm sorry. You can't have two opportunities to speak. So if you will yield your time. You've spoken to two previous council meetings. Well, then you go ahead and speak, please.
Asked us to be gracious enough to let someone who hadn't spoke before. I said yes. He hasn't spoke before, but I'm still going to speak again. Other people have already spoke again. So will I. It is this system's time that's up, not ours. And we will talk as long as we need to.
Mr. Compton, I would just like to say briefly before I start mine. You know,
I'm sorry. Start over. There are people.
I would just like to say briefly.
Speak, please?
Before I start, Mr. Compton, I think it really is sad when you talk about democracy and giving people the time to speak and to air their things, their feelings and their concerns. But when you start putting a lot of restraints and become, I mean, I think there's a problem there. I mean, how can you really have it both ways? Having said that, Mr. Compton, my name is Raul Miranda, and I was down on Tuesday. I was downtown over by 4th and Pike. And we were tear gas from afar, half a block away, and you know, my eyes were burning. I saw people being pepper sprayed at very close range, simply for standing their ground, for just protesting. I also saw some reports on TV that really bothered me. For example, I saw Mr. McIver here being harassed and being intimidated, and I'm kind of wondering whether the color thing is strong enough to really take action against the very city that he works for. At what point do you really say, well, yeah, this will happen to me, and I'm going to do something about it, you know. So because because we're also very concerned about people the people that are working for the system and are supposed to represent us, including all of you up there, you know. How real is that accountability? I saw a report where one of the protesters was pepper sprayed, and they wrapped a towel around this protester's face. And it really reminds me, it brings back these nightmares, these memories of my nephew being killed at the King County Jail on late December of '98. And I recall then that Mr. Gossett was still on the King County Council on the Law and Justice Committee. Mr. Gossett did nothing. My nephew was murdered in cold blood. The jail guards came in there in full force, in full uniform, snickered throughout the whole kangaroo coroner's inquest. Nothing was done. This is not the first time. People are being killed all the time. And my challenge to Mr. Gossett and all of you is, how accountable are you? What will you really do? Is it just about ambition, you know, and going on with your jobs? Are your eyes over? Do you have your eyes cast on Olympia or on D.C.? And is that more important than the constituency that has elected you? Mr. Gossett ran on a Progressive Party ticket, and I want to see some accountability. My nephew didn't have to die. My nephew didn't have to die. People like him don't have to die. Not when we're going into the second millennium, and that jailhouse, you know, has people from all walks of life that have problems with overdoses. They have problems with epilepsy, and yet there is no adequate medical attention at that damn jailhouse. There's a hospital 6 blocks away. My nephew did not have to die. I don't give a damn if he was having some kind of a reaction to drugs. He did not have to die. He did not have to be pepper sprayed several times at close range. He didn't have to be manhandled by all these jail guards. Nothing was done. The same verdict, no wrongdoing. At what point do we do something? What are there double standards here? Police can shoot people and there's no accountability. I, Joe Blow, can go out on the street and do something and I'm held accountable. It's time to be accountable. That's my message to you. It's time to be accountable.
Number 40 is Paul Marini. Is Paul Marini here? Followed by War Cry, followed by Russell Smith, followed by Swan Eagle.
Hi, I'm going to keep this short, and I would like to concede the rest of my time to the speaker after me. I know she has more things to say than I do. First of all, I was at the police rally the other day, and I heard the police claim that there were no injuries. No injuries or death. But they broke my arm. I was shot with a riot gun after 10 hours of peace and non-provocation. Someone that I spoke to there told me that I deserve to get injured because of property damage. Well, I didn't break any windows. And the next day, the next day, the windows were fixed, but I had to wait more than 4 days to receive care because I was in jail, being refused medical attention. Okay. Peace. Just keep this peaceful, please. Okay.
Please let him speak.
Okay, we've all got 3 minutes, so this is going to be my 3 minutes? Okay, thanks. All right. Now, I wish I could say I was peacefully protesting when I got arrested on Wednesday, but I wasn't protesting at all. I was on my way to work to get insurance information so I could go to the doctor, and I was on the sidewalk, and they grabbed me and hauled me away, and I was in jail for 4 days. This is gross injustice, and I'm in the company of thousands. Thank you. Okay, second point. Just to address the overattention paid to property damage, how many rocks can one person throw in 10 hours without the police paying attention? I could have done all that damage myself in that day while the police gassed and beat up people just sitting in the street. Thank you. Yeah, also, as I understand it, may misunderstand it, a state of emergency is for natural disasters, floods, volcanoes, emergencies. And if they can suspend our rights like that whenever they want to, that means we have no rights. Thank you. I would like to concede the rest of my time to War Cry. Thank you.
Testing. With all due respect to the efforts of the Seattle City Council, 3 minutes is just not enough.
We need a public national dialogue 24/7. This should be the norm. That's direct democracy. I mean, not one day out of a year. That's a bone thrown to us. I mean, do we want a bone or do we want direct democracy? Like I saw on the streets, and I saw the most courageous, intelligent, clear, and focused people, committed people, putting their personal safety at risk, and that includes so-called anarchists. They're some of the most incredible people I've ever met. And it makes me love this country very much. Even though our violent government continues to play with their war toys, for years they've killed millions of people on this planet. Why are you all that surprised when they are kind of brutal to you? It's not an exception what happened in Seattle. It's typical. I mean, are we here because some Christmas shoppers got caught in the crossfire? I mean, some yuppies accidentally got gassed? I mean, it's a riot in this town when somebody drops their latte. Or are we here to ask some seriously tough questions? I mean, it seems like you get freedom of speech except for when you really need it, except for when people really start listening, except for when we really start making a difference. And the militarization of the domestic police force in this country is not new. It's a trend that's been going on for years. This is definitely a wake-up call. My question is, are the police still under civilian control? Do we still have the right to bear arms, although I think arms are for hugging? Can we bear gas masks as a self-defense measure? I mean, that's private property right there that they took away. All the gas masks in this city were sold out on November 30th. How does that speak of democracy in America in 1999? This system is punishing not just the cops. They're ready to crush any challenge to transnational capital. That's what we saw. That's what we saw that last week. And that capital doesn't have any allegiance to America or any other country. They have one principle, and that is profit. That's what's calling the shots, okay, in this country and everywhere else, it seems. Private control over public resources and our lives. That's the real problem, not who or why the WTO was invited here. That seems like a distraction to me, okay? And I regret that all this entire responsibility for accountability falls on your head. That doesn't seem fair, considering that those orders to secure Seattle and protect the WTO from seeing our signs and banners and hearing our chants probably came down from the Clinton administration. It's amazing to me how worked up people get over broken windows. What about the broken lives and destruction of public property and the rape of the earth that occurs without apology every day? Get worked up about that. That's the real danger. That's the threat to the future and the present, not some masked kids. Okay, by the way, we're having an anarchist teach-in. We're going to organize that. Call 770-9044 if you're interested in knowing what that means, anarchism. Okay, what about the masks the corporations wear and the government wear behind their billion-dollar advertising budgets and the politicians behind their image management campaigns? That's a mask I'd like to see torn off, okay? The cops fired the first shots on November 30th. The WTO fired the first shots. The corporations that murder and rape across this country and this world fired the first shots, okay? Get that. Okay? We need a government that's responsive to the hardworking men and women of this country, not just the corporations. We need a media that voices our concerns, not a media that talks about a blowjob in the White House for 12 months. On behalf of the police officers of Rodney King County, thank you. You helped us shut down the WTO. Without your dramatic involvement, I don't think this message would have been so strongly received. And furthermore, I feel like cops are doing the dirty work for this dirty system. They're the ones that are forced to take the brunt of public distress and outrage. The cops have the highest suicide rate, and some of the brutality, I think, is from the frustration that they experience. Not that that's an excuse, but this system rewards brutality. You can see it in the laws they make, in their priorities. Protect the WTO. What happened to public safety? Okay? I'd like to thank the Seattle Police, the Seattle Fire Department that refused to turn their hoses on the protesters. We love you! Okay, last thing. Please, okay, hang on. You can't count on the U.S. Congress, you can't count on the City Council to do everything for you. This is a do-it-yourself democracy, so I urge you to just do it, okay? And for the Council, my question is, since we ripped open a moment in history, are we going through it in a new direction? Is what happened in Seattle more than just a bump in the road for the authoritarian, capital-controlled corporate police state? Say it isn't so. Is this a funeral for the U.S. Constitution, or are we ready to fight for a real democracy, real self-rule, and justice and liberty for all? That number again is 206-770-9044. Jump in. Thank you.
Russell Smith. Russell Smith is number 42. Swan Eagle number 43, and Emmy Williams number 44.
Let's all take a breath after that. I'd like to thank the City Council for having this. As a 12-year resident of Capitol Hill and not a WTO protester, I must strongly disagree with the media lies and misinformation that were sent out to the public regarding how the police acted during WTO protest week. Local media spread the lie that the Seattle police acted with restraint. Police didn't act with restraint, far from it. I'll let other people speak about their eyewitness accounts of the downtown debacle. I'll stick to Capitol Hill since it is my home and it was invaded. Late Tuesday, November 30th, according to the mayor and the media, clear boundaries had been drawn in regard to the emergency so-called no protest zone, and they did not apply to any area on Capitol Hill past the freeway. They certainly didn't go as far as Broadway on Capitol Hill. I must emphatically disagree with the foolish notion that being gassed by poison chemicals is a minor inconvenience. And since it is now obvious to a great many residents of Capitol Hill that Seattle police officers don't know how to responsibly use their pepper spray and tear gas weapons, I request to the City Council that the police who patrol my neighborhood are legally prevented from using them on Capitol Hill in any way from now on. If they are man enough to tear gas innocent citizens at point-blank range, they are man enough to wrestle those same citizens to the ground when there is just cause. Capitol Hill should become a gas-free zone. I am lucky that I wasn't directly sprayed or hit by a cop. I have talked to many people, including friends who were, and I find that disgusting to say beyond words. There is no individual redress that will happen because the lines of riot cops didn't have numbers on their uniforms. That is one problem. The other problem appears to be that cops got the notion into their heads that they had the power of martial law on their side and didn't have to care about things like giving their names, badge numbers, and thinking about how their actions would affect their future careers. The place to begin with assigning actual accountability and consequences is with the supervisors, chiefs, and higher-ups. I submit to the City Council that any police officer with authority involved in the Wednesday, December 1st police riot be suspended until this inquiry is over. Shooting tear gas off on Broadway while people were shopping, dining, and getting off work was both irresponsible and idiotic. Tear gas can't discern between the sick and the well, the old and the young, or between people who are just walking home or actually doing something worth being arrested for. Poison gas should never be used again in such a reckless and indiscriminate way on Capitol Hill. The police force needs to be disciplined for recklessly endangering all of the citizens of my neighborhood. Large numbering and name tags must be put on the riot uniforms of all police long before a situation like this happens again. There are no adequate excuses regarding the out-of-control cops in my neighborhood on the night of December 1st, 1999. Lack of intelligent planning by the mayor and the business people who brought the WTO to town didn't equal my needing to deal with or even buy into an emergency police state. Thank you.
Swan Eagle, followed by Emmy Williams and number 45, Michael John.
Thank you. I'm a land-based hippie from the mountains of northeastern Washington, where we've been dealing with the drug wars since 1982. I am a long-time non-Indian supporter of indigenous people in Arizona who've been genocided out of existence for over 500 years. In the past 10 years, 10,000 traditional non-English speaking Navajo people have been forcibly relocated, and 4,000 of them have died. This past summer, I was part of a peace camp And the elders there have asked non-Indians to come and bear witness in a nonviolent manner. Their main line of defense is ceremony. That voice is never heard in the context of the struggles against corporate rape and pillage of the earth and major genocide. My line is, stop the genocide, the rest will follow. This past summer, I dealt with Hopi tribal rangers that were heavily armed with high technology. It was practice for what happened at the WTO. And on Tuesday morning, my friend, who is a long-time student of Gandhi, she was beaten brutally with no warning with a billy club and thrown down twice on the street. And half a dozen others or more were beaten with no warning with billy clubs. And we held that street all day long, non-violently, and with no warning we were attacked. On Wednesday, December 1st, we came from the Union Rally up Pike Place, up Victor Steinborg Park, Virginia to 3rd. People were tear gassed, and I saw the National Guard begin to beat those tear gassed. And I stood there and said to them, quit hurting them. They are hurt, they are leaving. And one man, National Guard, he said to me, get the hell out of here. I said, I'm a human rights observer. You are beating your neighbors, your relatives, and your friends. And then they attacked again, and I prayed in front of the Darth Vader and the Robocops and the Humvee not to hurt people. And they shot us with bullets, and they shot my friend in the eye, and she has lost part of her vision. And we are middle-aged women who've been doing this for years. And where are the voices of the Gandhistas? Those of us truly committed to nonviolence. Give me the bullet. Don't shoot the elders of Big Mountain. Stop genocide. Then all people can get together to stop what's going on. Stop genocide, and the rest will follow. Thank you.
I asked who gave the orders not to have names and badge numbers present on officers. I'd really like to know, and I'd also like to know what sort of institutions those WTO police were trained at. I believe they acted like they were capable of killing innocent people. My real name is Life Has Meaning. I am 51 years old, and I've been a student of Mohandas Gandhi since the early 70s. I'm also a mother, and I take the job seriously. I've been working for a safe future for all children, and it's led me to take a stand against war and against nuclear weapons. On several occasions, I have participated in nonviolent direct action. I've never seen police behave so provocatively before this WTO assault. The police acted with unnecessary aggression and violence towards peaceful, nonviolent demonstrators, which I personally observed. In my experience, no warning was given by police before they attacked us. I hope this sort of police action will be strictly forbidden in the future. It is a form of fascism to squelch opposition with repressive violence. I believe the police acted like trained soldiers, and I, as I said, have no doubt they are capable of killing innocent people. I want to know what sort of institution they were trained in. I personally sustained injuries on 3 occasions. The first one was on November 30th. I laid down in front of a vehicle that was bringing in, I believe it was probably bringing in tear gas in hindsight or whatever canisters. I laid down, and in the past, that sort of action has gotten me arrested, and I was prepared for that. This time, instead of arresting us, the police came in swinging. As I was laying down in the street, I saw an officer take a full swing of his club, and he hit me on the left leg. And then I was picked up by my left leg, which could have been broken had it been raised, but it was flat on the ground, and I believe the ground broke the impact and saved my leg from being broken. Then I was picked up by that leg and my arm, and I was moved several feet away. Then I was picked up again by that same leg and arm and moved again. I was bleeding, and I stayed there. I just laid down. I'm so nonviolent. I haven't eaten meat for 26 years. Then on December 1st, I was part of a parade that was beautiful, nonviolent singing. I was proud to be with those people. We came up from the steelworkers rally at Pier 62, and we proceeded in parade down the street. At one point we passed some policemen who were off to my left, and I figured they were parade patrol. We went past them, and then I saw tear gas being fired on the people way in front of us. Then the tear gas was lobbed at us. And my friend who just spoke before us was talking to the police, and I was saying, hey, we got to get out of here. You know, I was trying to motion to her, but my voice didn't carry. I was getting pretty hoarse by that time. But I wasn't going to leave her. She's asthmatic. So I stayed there. And while I was trying to get her to get out of there, I was shot in the eye with a rubber bullet, or I don't know for sure. I was shot in the eye with a projectile of some sort. And I had to go to the emergency room at Harborview Hospital. And today, yesterday, I just heard that I may not get part of my vision back. I may be permanently blinded, and I feel that it's a danger for me to drive. This has impacted my life, and while I was in the emergency room, there was a woman who had her jaw broken in 3 places, who was part of that same parade.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I'm almost finished. The woman who was at the emergency room with me had her jaw broken in 3 places because the police stampeded people. I heard people say, walk, walk, and we tried. But those police were acting like terrorists.
Let me give all of us a reality check. May I speak? We've been listening for 3 hours now. We've had 45 people speak to us in 3. I'm sorry. We've been listening, and I want to speak for about 30 seconds. We have heard from 45 people in 3 hours. There are 170 people signed up. That means that as of now, we have 125 people to go out of the 170. That's 8.5 hours at the current rate. That puts us at about 4 a.m. Now, we don't have this hall forever. I'm just trying to explain to you that. Thank you. Let's go ahead. Michael. I was trying to give you some reality check. Michael John is the next witness. That's number 45.
Silent night, holy night. I couldn't bear it any longer. I felt trapped in my 15th Ave Capitol Hill home as helicopters hovered and tear gas canisters exploded but 5 blocks from my house. I was sickened by the noises that had invaded my evening on Wednesday, December 1st, 1999. Until then, I had been peacefully demonstrating with fellow farmers, pilots, steelworkers, and environmentalists concerned about the injustices inherent in WTO policymaking. This evening, however, was about free speech. It was about refusing to subscribe to a society that thrives on fear. It was about refusing to allow the riot-geared policemen to dominate our Capitol Hill neighborhood simply because we were all too fearful to proclaim our constitutional rights. So I left the safety of my home, and I joined the group that had gathered to guard our guaranteed rights of freedom of speech and the freedom to assemble. As we coalesced on Pine between 11th and Broadway, we were faced by a brigade of intimidating proportions, 50 riot-geared cops framed by armored vehicles and police cars. The massive protesters, approximately 900 of us. We were joined by several King County council members attempting to facilitate a peaceful confrontation. They asked us to assemble on the sidewalk, and after gentle coercion, we complied. Nothing was reciprocated by the police, however, so we resumed our place on the street, chanting, singing, and dancing. From midnight to approximately 1:30 a.m., we stalemated peacefully, even generated a few dollars, which we offered to the policemen in hopes of reconciliation over coffee and donuts. I would occasionally deliver an autumn leaf, beautifully marked by Washington's scarlet and crimson hues, at the feet of the police as a sign of peace and my willingness to be nonviolent. In offering the leaf, I was careful to keep my distance, as they were unlawfully arresting anyone who approached too closely, even if they simply had a question. Autumn emissaries of peace did little to deter their menacing stance. They announced that we risked arrest if we did not disperse. I understood this and appreciated their warning. This declaration spewed from their horns numerous times, then nothing, so we continued our charade of dancing and singing, proclaiming our freedom to sing Christmas carols on the streets of Seattle beside an icon of Americana, Kentucky Fried Chicken. As we finished the final stanza of Silent Night, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace, they unloaded so much tear gas into us that it caused a frenzy of fearful freedom fighters that couldn't see or feel much more than the acid that was burning their face and their eyes. But I have not accounted for all the weapons of intimidation used. Gas was not only what my body received Wednesday, December 3rd, 1999, but many of my compadres surrounding me that night had the joy of shielding rubber bullets and miniature sandbags fired at them at close range. Anything to instill more fear. I have one more paragraph. If you need a witness to testify to my aforementioned testimony, simply call Brian Dudowski, King County council member who was also gassed, and summarized the incident in the PI on Friday, December 3rd with this quote: "They started singing Christmas carols. When they started singing Silent Night, the tear gas started." And my question to Irene is, when you mention free speech, when you guys and women mention free speech, do you want us, your brothers and sisters, to think of fear, frenzy, and fines, or do you want us to think fair, free-flowing, and familiar to Seattle? That's my question.
Chris Bahari. Chris Bahari is number 46, Sarah Stegner, 47, Rick Powell, 48.
My name is Chris Bahari. I'm a citizen and a business owner here in Seattle. Remember Bosnia? If we are truly looking for healing, we have to choose forgiveness. It has to begin somewhere, sometime. When we, the citizens, stand by and daily do nothing and watch people destroying property or breaking the law at any time, we are part of the problem. When our representatives, City Council, don't stand up and demand to be part of the decision-making process, they are part of the problem. When the governor, the mayor, the county exec, the police chief, or whomever made the decision to bring WTO to our city, they are the beginning of the problem. We have taxation, but do we truly have representation? We have all the colors of the rainbows, all beliefs, all backgrounds present here tonight. Those who represent us and work for us and who are paid by our tax dollars are a cross-section of all of us. Our officers, men and women, are part of us and a reflection of who we truly are. We need to look into the mirror. We have many dedicated individuals, law-abiding individuals, some mediocre and some extremists, but citizens and police alike. A small group ruined it for us all. The way things were handled, the lack of backup for the police, all the decisions were made by our leadership. Our dedicated people who wear the uniform are victims also. Officers who were out of control should step forward, as well as those who did the damage to our city. Remember Bosnia? If we are truly looking for healing, we have to choose forgiveness. We have no one to blame but ourselves. In this country, we have a process. Let's continue to use it.
I'm Sarah Stegner, a property owner living and working in Seattle in the private sector. My husband is a public employee and a Teamster. We have one teen in college and another in an excellent Seattle public school. We volunteer with PTA and as co-captains of our neighborhood block watch with the police department. I speak on behalf of my family. We care about the health of our family, our community, our planet, and all the creatures on it. We believe in nonviolence and democracy. These are the reasons why it was important for us to miss work and school during WTO to join together with people from all over the world to be in the streets and teach-ins, the same reasons why we voted for most of you. I hope that the City Council stands for what we believe in. Am I wrong? I ask you to please raise your hand if you do not agree with the importance of standing up for human rights, worker rights, and environmental protections. We are so proud of the people of Seattle for hosting such a remarkably diverse educational protest and series of teach-ins concerning the detrimental effects of the business of the WTO. We do not appreciate being gassed without warning or having our 14-year-old child gassed while participating in this peacefully. I am so sorry for the people who became victims of even more serious police violence. There's a significant distinction between violent and nonviolent crime. The isolated malicious mischief and vandalism does not warrant being beaten with a big stick or kicked with steel-toed boots by police. It does not warrant spraying the fire of rubber bullets and tear gas into a crowd of citizens. This was way beyond rude. We are a polite city. Let us not fight amongst ourselves. I am sure that most of us here in this room share many of the same values. We don't want people around the world to go to bed hungry or to die of starvation. We don't want another species to become extinct. Who doesn't want clean air, clean water, good healthy labeled food, and fair wages for everybody? People have come together here in Seattle from all over the world concerned about these issues, and the whole wide world is watching. Let us hope that this melee will in the long run serve the greater good of having gotten the message out. Change is in the air. We are all in this together. Maybe we should go shopping downtown. Maybe there's some cop that needs to be thanked for not letting their violence get more out of hand. Maybe the injured and jailed young people and elders deserve compensation and an apology for their mistreatment. Most importantly, remember why all of this happened. It is because of trade policies that threaten what we believe in. Fair trade, sustainability of natural resources, peace, justice, and democracy. May we all listen to our hearts and find ways to support each other in upholding what we really know to be right and true. And my question is, who are the armed forces of the WTO, and were our local forces drafted?
Rick Paul was followed by Frank, number 49, Suzanne, Akazan from the Plumbers Union, and then E. Joyce Glasgow. Rick, you're number 48.
My name's Rick Powell, and I've been a musician, independent artist in Seattle for 20 years. And if I break down into uncontrollable coughing, it's because I was tear gassed repeatedly over 2.5 days. I haven't gotten over it yet. I was also raised around policemen, firemen, and public servants, and I'd like to say that I do commend some of the police officers for restraint, but I also commend the majority of the protesters for restraint after being shown a lot of violence. I saw a lot of passive resistance, and I also was at Union, 4th and Union at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I watched the officer with the red vest who was in charge seemingly trying to incite violence in the crowd, first by arresting a young man who was about 14 who was just dancing. Then he walked around and found 2 women and a man, obviously activist, sitting on the ground, reached over the line and maced the girl in the face, looked around to see what was going to happen. While grown men like myself began to bellow in rage, he maced her boyfriend, looked around, decided to mace the next girl, at which point that whole side of the street erupted and people began to throw signs. The only policemen I saw protecting the crowd were none. The only people protecting the crowd and property were people like me who stopped people with masks on from breaking windows. A friend of mine is an international photographer who told me and showed me pictures of Peru. In Peru, they had very similar situations. Of course, they had more real bullets, and they shoot their protesters in the streets. But they also had policemen, uniformed policemen, patrolling the crowd. My question is, why were no uniformed policemen patrolling the crowd, protecting property? It would have been very easy to arrest those people because I stopped quite a few of them, and I'm not an officer, and I didn't feel like arresting them on the spot. I'd like to say that also what we're seeing happening here is a result of what you could call a harvest of rage. I was raised in an agricultural area, and I watched farmers lose their farms and trace it to massive corporate farms, corporate dominance. That's right. Basically, this kind of stuff is going to continue as long as we don't take a stance against it. And that's why when I talked to the police on the line, I said to them, "Sir, I know you're doing your job. You're doing what your supervisor tells you to do, and I'm doing my job by protecting my civil rights by standing here and protesting it." I have one other thing to say that an author, Tom Wolfe, said the difference between a liberal and a conservative is that a conservative's never been arrested. I say the difference between a liberal and a radical is a liberal's never been maced, bludgeoned, and beat to the ground. I'd also like to say that the police were saying they had to work 16, 12 hours. Well, I was raised with people who work 12 and 16 hours a day, working class people, and if they're stopped by an officer and they're told that they're going to give them a speeding ticket when they can't afford to even feed their children, is it okay to get out of the street and beat the cop to the street? No, it's not. And one other thing is that I'm very, very glad to be an American, and I'm very glad that Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin weren't in the streets, because I know what they would have been calling for in another American Revolution. Thank you.
Frank Beverland, did I get that right? And followed by Suzanne and E. Joyce Glasgow and Zachary Lyons. Thank you.
My name is Frank Beverland, and the last time I checked as a citizen of this country, along with everybody else here, whether you're wearing a mask or not. I don't know about the rest of you folks, but I don't need the mayor or the city council or the local news to apologize for a damn thing I've done or that's gone on in this town. I saw the mayor on TV apologizing to the international community for the damage and the rioting going on in the streets. I'm a child of the 60s, and I've been in a riot. That's not a riot. The only riot I saw going on was a bunch of people with black helmets and nightsticks. Second point I'd like to make is I don't need healing. I need accountability. My spirit's fine, my body will heal, and we'll get on with work, but I'm tired of people telling us how we need to behave. I'm tired of people telling us what we're supposed to do, and nobody has yet asked the mayor, how did this happen? Well, I'm lying. A lot of people's asked. We're asking here. We're asking here tonight. But I think I'm just starting to, I'm losing my point here, but I guess what I want to say is he needs to resign. All right? I work, you work, I have a boss, we all have a boss, and when I do something wrong, I get reprimanded. When I do something really bad, I get my ass fired. Don't even have to do anything wrong. What I'd like to say to the city council is, I have a question. I was listening to NPR radio this morning, And I was listening to the three lady council members who are leaving the city council, and they said that Mayor Schell had received a threat assessment from another agency. I'm not sure who, the FBI or some other government agency, and he refused to give it to him. And I'd like to know if that's true. Did the mayor refuse to give the city council a threat assessment? Okay. So anyway, let's stop. I guess what I really want to say is, let's stop pointing fingers. I hear on the news all the time. There's people from out of town. It was people. It wasn't the Seattle policeman beating the guy in the head. It was just here. It was King County, or is it? You know, you're law enforcement. I'm a firefighter. I just retired from the fire department. And I spent 26 years of my career trying to help people. And I think the last time I checked, that was the same oath that the police officers took, was to help people, not hurt them. And I'll say this because my time's up. Stop counting on the homeless people to get out there in the street and do your job for you. Stop counting on the poor people to get their butts kicked and their heads knocked in. Get up off of our middle-class asses. Let's get out there in the street and let's all stick together.
How many of you would do it again? How many of you would do it again? I want to know how many people would go and do it again and protest. How many? Of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's what the police should have been. They should have been mixing with the crowd and handing out candy canes to the kids. I swear to God, I can't believe that was the Seattle Police Department doing that. You know, I'm so incensed. I am a member of the Plumbers Union. My name is Suzanne Scomodo, also known as Zan, the Rad Dyke Plumber. That's right. Rad is an abbreviation for radical, and radical means change, and that's what's happening here today. This is the beginning of the people's assemblies that are going to happen all over the city. In every district, we're going to have the Ballard bed bugs, we're going to have the Capitol Hill clams, we're going to have the Rainier Valley roses, whatever you want to call it, but we are going to keep converging like this, and we are going to tell you to impose our will, because there's not going to be any more Mayor Shells deciding what's good for us. Obviously, it all backfired. I can't believe that my freedom of speech was about us against the WTO on Tuesday. The police turned it into us not having free speech. I can't believe that I couldn't stand in front of the convention center and protest. It was illegal for the city to make a no protest zone anywhere. Civil disobedience is another version of freedom of speech. There was dialogue for months with the Seattle Police Department, by the AFL-CIO, and by the Direct Action Network, which is comprised of many different environmental and rights organizations. They talked to the police. They said, we are going to sit in an intersection and you are going to arrest us. And it was all agreed that it was going to be a peaceful protest. This is what happened. If some of you watch this on TV and you have an opinion, keep talking. Because what I saw downtown when I was protesting was thousands and thousands of peaceful protesters. There was children, there was grandmothers. I was walking with a nun, and they're breathing tear gas. Protesters are citizens. Why are we acting like it's better to gas somebody with dreadlocks than somebody with a, in a business suit? It's all the same. It's all violence against citizens. Let's not divide protesters from citizens. That was vandalism that happened down there. If we wanted to break stuff, there was plenty of people. We could have every window in downtown broken. We did not do it. I challenge the media to show the labor march in its entirety. And I challenge the media to show all the independent films that people submit. And not just at 3 in the morning.
Let's show some real coverage here. You didn't show people chained at the Westin. You didn't show enough coverage of the farmers. You didn't show a lot of coverage. And I just want to say, John Carlson was down at the T-shirt handout yesterday, or whenever that was, and he was saying, I'm sorry, Mr. MacGyver, what happened to you, but you represent what happened to thousands of people. This is a crime, what happened. I'm so worked up, and I have a lot to say, but
thank you.
Let me tell you,
Suzanne.
John Carlson actually said MacGyver is more like McWhiner. This is the attitude that we had when the cops were handing the T-shirts out. I want you to find the rogue policemen that weren't listening to orders, the ones that decided to go to Capitol Hill and kill some people. Thank God they didn't have bullets. They wanted to kill us. Thank God they didn't have bullets.
Thank you. Suzanne, thank you. That's the end of your time.
I shall further our cause because now it's a beautiful day when steel workers and punk rockers and office workers and restaurant workers and dykes are all on the same side against the WTO. And we're all afraid of the cops. You know,
thank you.
I'm a business owner too. Yeah. I want our freedom of speech restored, and I want more democracy. Now, one great thing that happened of our protests is the African nations did not sign because we protested. They had secret meetings in the WTO.
Suzanne, thank
they
you.
locked out third world nations, and the third world nations were treated just like we were on the streets of Seattle. Every one of us represents 5 million people in the world today, and we want another meeting. This is not long enough.
Thank you. Joyce Glasgow. Sorry, you're Joyce? Yeah, go ahead. Let me just say that when people run over, it's depriving other people of time. That's my concern. All right. But we have just, we now have, I'm sorry. May I speak? I've just been handed more people who've signed up. We're at 182 now. And Joyce, please go ahead. After Joyce speaks, if you don't mind. Joyce Glasgow will now speak.
Thank you for letting me speak again. First of all, I'd like to know who made the very rude decision to allow the police to have a rally downtown at which they sold T-shirts that reduced the tyranny of the behavior of last week to a sports mentality of us versus them battle of Seattle. It's insulting to us who protested in the streets. It's insulting to the citizens of Seattle because the police behavior was so bad that allowing the police to move forward this way is such arrogance. Arrogance in our faces. It's frustrating. And there are a couple of other things I wanted to say, which are that we must be very aware of talking to the people in our communities who are not downtown. Because as time is passing, the media has spun a wonderful web of polarity between us and them again. There are so many people who weren't there who are beginning to look at the protesters as if they were deserving of the horrible treatment that they got from the police. And I know this from having talked to a lot of people who still don't understand WTO, so please explain it to them, and who really have chosen through watching television media the opiate of the people, to accept that the people that peacefully protested downtown were deserving of far worse even than what we got. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have said these kinds of things to me and really surprised me. And the last thing I want to say is, and at the risk of being marginalized or be considered being a lunatic for saying something like this, I see this as the end of a 2,000-year period of patriarchy. Wait, please, let me finish because I don't have much time. We have had a patriarchal system in the world, one that thrives on domination by physical force, fear, intimidation, use of control by power and money for centuries. Okay, and the WTO is a worldwide vision of manifestation of this patriarchy, and the police actions are the last dying gasp on a local level of this kind of system of governing the world. And I would like to suggest that as we move into the new millennium, that we see a world society based on cooperation, fearlessness, peace, and consensus for all living beings, and that we continue to have forums such as this as a way of keeping things in check, keeping dominating forces from taking control of others, and instead all having equality and power over each and one of our individual selves. And to be empowered, please be empowered. And I want to be empowered.
And so Joyce has the floor, and I'd like to have Joyce,
very quickly, I just want to say one other thing about the T-shirts. Okay, now they've sold the T-shirts, and they've gotten a lot of money. They say they're going to take the money and go to stores that lost business for the Christmas season and buy presents to give to charity. I want to know what stores they're going to. Are they going to the Pike Place market stalls where there are individual vendors who hardly make any money? Or are they going to the Gap and the Banana Republic and the Nordstroms and the Nike Town? Where are they going? Okay, well, my time's up, but thank you for listening to me, and thank you for letting me talk again.
Sorry? All right, here's another reality check. First of all, there's a Metropolitan King County Councilman Brian Derdowski is here and would like to speak, and we're going to honor him. Is he here, Brian? Is Brian in the hall? We want to get you on. Okay, here he comes, Brian Derdowski.
Councilmember Compton, I want to thank you and the council members for conducting this hearing. I want to thank you for conducting this hearing. It's a tough situation. There's a lot of anger and a lot of passion, and I respect you for giving an opportunity for that to be aired and for your commitment to fact-finding. In keeping with that, I want to give you a couple of quick observations. First of all, I participated in the march in the Jubilee 2000. In fact, Councilmember Gossett and I were there. We encountered a situation where we came up against a barrier, and the police on the other side were very respectful, but there was a lot of disorganization. There was not an effective means to communicate to the public. In fact, we had to commandeer a megaphone in order to stop what was a potentially really tough situation, where you had 500 people that did not know what was going on, that were about ready to take down a chain link fence. That communication and it was a bad situation. There was not adequate planning. Second situation on Capitol Hill, some observations. First, the tear gas canisters that came at the small group that remained after 3 hours of basically where the whole situation was diffused quite a bit, came without warning. The previous warning was 1 hour. Now, I don't know what the rules of operation were, but we took a situation where there were about 1,000 people on the street. Nearly all of them came out to the sidewalk, many of them dispersed, and the warning for the tear gas, or the warning for the police coming forward, was at least an hour prior to the tear gas being thrown, and I felt that was inappropriate. Secondly, there was no access to the chain of command, none. Councilmember Conlon, Councilmember-elect Nicastro, Councilmember Licata, they were in the streets with us, and I understand they attempted to reach the chain of command and could not do so. There are many incidences. I've been in this, my wife and I were in the streets every single night, virtually all night. There are many very credible stories of the most outlandish behavior on the part of police officers. This is something I very much, and I had a lot of personal experiences of wonderful behavior, respectful behavior by police officers. But the point is that you all should conduct or insist that there be an independent investigation with subpoena power in order to get down to the details. There will be, I also believe that the city, just from a practical matter, is the city needs to start putting together a very large contingency fund, frankly, for the liability. There are many organizations that are very serious that are working this issue. I hope you do that. I'd be happy to share. My time is up. There are many case studies that I'd like to pass along to you, and I would encourage you to have a working group set up to talk to the ACLU, talk to Amnesty International, talk to these various organizations that are gathering data. We've got to get way beyond just accepting information and get down to get accountability. We've got, okay, in rapid fire, some practical suggestions for the next time. One, we have to have civilian street leadership, very visible on the street, talking people off the ceilings and acting as quality control for the police. Number two, we need to have regular officers dispersed in strategic locations wearing regular uniforms. In a community that prides itself on community policing, we completely abandoned the whole notion of it during this situation. Thirdly, we should have realistic boundaries, because the boundaries were not realistic for defense. Four, there is no way that we should allow anonymous police officers without their badges to be patrolling the streets. There should be enough staff. There should be plenty of staffing to meet diverse challenges, because the challenges posed by a passive resistance person is quite different than a looter opportunist, is quite different than large crowd control. They all require a different response. And we basically had one response. The city had one response to a diverse set of problems. And as a consequence, the atmosphere that was created would make an ordinary person extremely angry. By the end, I saw people, very reasonable, rational people, that because of the treatment and because of the atmosphere and because of the arrogance, frankly, of the top down, and I'm not talking about simplistic concepts like the mayor, I'm talking about the whole atmosphere around the WTO. The very notion that people with a certain badge could walk on the streets and other people could not. This sort of arrogance grew and intensified and got to the point where what you have now, where people are very, this has given expression to a whole lot of folks that feel disenfranchised, and it is high time that we listen to them. And this, if nothing else, we've done a lot of things this week with the WTO. It was a historic event, and we've given the world a message, but we did something else. We have created an opportunity so that those without a powerful voice have found their voice, and that is a very good thing for us.
Thank you, Brian, very much.
Okay, next will be Zachary Lyons, followed by Tracy Thompson and Jordan Jarvis.
I'm Zachary Lyons. I'm the director of the Washington State Farmers Market Association. And I spent the entire week of the WTO from Sunday through Friday marching shoulder to shoulder with farmers from all over the world. Since I moved to Washington State in 1985, I haven't gotten so much as a parking ticket. And until Tuesday, November 30th, I respected and trusted the Seattle police. Whoops. Monday night during the Jubilee 2000 march, afterwards, as the buses of delegates were coming out of the expo hall down by the Kingdom, a group of us were blockading buses coming out of delegates coming out, going back to their hotels. The riot police were there from the city of Seattle. They did their job. They moved us out of the way of the buses. We did our job. We blockaded the buses and yelled at the buses. It was all very peaceful. It was all very respectful. In between buses, I noted to a buddy of mine that I could use a tissue. One of the riot officers gave me one. Another riot officer asked me why I was protesting the WTO. I explained to him about the tuna boycott, about the Dolphin Safety Act, and about how under the WTO, Mexico sued the United States, and the United States Congress earlier this year gutted the Dolphin Safety Act. The riot officer looked at me and he said, okay, I get it. I can support that. I went out afterwards. I talked to folks. This had reaffirmed my sense that we could trust the Seattle police. I actually put myself out on the line by telling people they're not going to crack skulls this week. This is the Seattle police. Again, silly me. On Tuesday, I marched with the farmers who marched in a large group from all over the world with union organizers, environmentalists, students, dykes, right? We got that. The dykes represent the farmers here, so the farmers got to represent the dykes. It was all very peaceful. And at 5 o'clock, after I was done protesting for the day, I was on 4th Avenue and got assaulted from behind by police with tear gas and rubber bullets. And a man next to me got hit a half inch from his eye by one of these hard rubber pellets. And we were given no warning. We were doing nothing illegal. We were on a public sidewalk, and they attacked us. And thank the gods that the folks in Borders Books saved our butts. I'm not supporting Borders Books, but thank God that the Borders Books employees on 4th Avenue saved our butts. You know, I haven't heard one cop yet say, I'm sorry, we were tired, we were exhausted, but we went too far. I haven't heard that yet. Just asking for a little of that humanity I saw Monday night. Those t-shirts were insulting. Battle in Seattle! Woohoo! You know, again, yeah, the sports mentality. It's outrageous. It's like the excuses I hear about them being tired and exhausted and things are like saying, well, the guy was drunk. He didn't mean to hit the other car. You know, the guy was tired when he got home from work. He didn't mean to beat the crap out of his wife. It's the same mentality, and we need to answer that. Now, the two questions I would love to get added up on the board here are, how was the intelligence organized by law enforcement such that the police were ready in advance for our surprise march to Cargill Thursday afternoon? No, I helped plan it. Yeah. I'm adding questions up here. And the second question is it true that the police advised businesses on Capitol Hill to close up at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday evening because they had planned in advance to drive the protesters up Broadway?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a note in my hand that's signed by about, I guess, 60 of you, maybe more, asking that we try to find some way to either hold another meeting, to do additional, to limit the speaking time, but hang on. Councilmember Licata has some ideas about how we might negotiate a way that everybody can get on, because that's our goal. Nick, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, let's think of this as a town meeting, which it is, obviously. So, and we're all citizens, we're all here together, and what I'm going to suggest is this. Show of hands, we can go either way. So everybody gets a vote. Not us, but everybody here. We won't vote. Do people, because when we had the meeting last week, a lot of folks were left out, and they wanted an opportunity to speak. And as this note reflects, I sort of felt like at least we had committed to hear those people. We don't want to deny anyone an opportunity to speak, because some of the speakers who've spoken a second time have made good points that they didn't make the first time. So I recognize that, and I think we all do. But nevertheless, some people have not had an opportunity to speak at all. So the question is before us, do we want to give priority to those people who did not speak before? And this is just going to be on the honor system, because we, unfortunately, originally we had intended to put out two different lists, and that did not happen. But, well, because there's a breakdown as usual. There was a breakdown, as you know, but I won't get into that because I get ulcers. So look, the question before us is, do people want those who did not have an opportunity to speak last week to have first priority? That's the question. So those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Those, thank you. I didn't count them, but I have a sense. So those who are opposed to that, raise your hand. Okay. So we've got one vote. The vote is that we will then, as the name is read off, we will note on there if someone, stand up and say, I spoke last time, we'll make a check off, you'll still have a chance, okay? We're not going to eliminate you, but you'll just go in that order towards the end. Now the other suggestion, and it came from people out there, not from us, which was, do people want to give 2 minutes or 3 minutes? I heard a large no, but just for the sake of a vote, those against 2 minutes, raise your right hand. No surprise, that's fine. I just had to do it. Okay. Okay, another meeting. Okay, wait, please. Let's just one thing at a time. We can't. Okay, another meeting. Let me just say, wait, before I phrase a question, okay. There is going to be a city council committee account review committee. That will involve someone suggested forums, committee meetings in which we will hear and participate. So there's going to be a more constructive, I don't want to say more constructive, I'll say a different format for meetings. Just keep in mind, you want that or just another public hearing? Not just, or a public meeting format, because one may be more interactive where you actually are talking. Okay, here's the question. Who wants another public hearing, same format as this? Raise your right hand. Same 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Oh. Okay, what we're going to do, please, if we can, these are all good suggestions, but I can only hear one at a time. This is what we're going to do. We're going to see if we want another meeting, then I'll ask another vote for time, okay? Saturday afternoon versus evening. Good. Okay. Those in favor of another meeting, raise your right hand. Okay. Put them down. All those against another meeting. Thank you. Okay. Now, here's the story. People, the city council at some point is going to, you're not going to like, eventually they were going to get sort of burned out. And the mayor has not heard any of this yet, okay? And so we need to have, I think, the mayor and Mark Sitter and some other folks hear you guys directly. And that's what you want. Well, maybe, how many people would like to see them at a public hearing? Raise your right hand. Well, maybe we can arrange that. All right, okay. One other thing. If there's another public hearing, who wants it on like a Saturday afternoon? Oh, all day Saturday. Fine, all day. Beginning at 8 in the morning, whatever. Okay. Okay, so you want an all-day Saturday meeting, a public hearing. Okay, I understand that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll proceed. Thank you. Okay, we have enough information if we want to investigate it now. I'm going to say just two things. We're going to go back to the format because we're stealing time. One, the account review committee does have subpoena powers, and we are going to bring out an outside investigator. And two, this morning I was on the phone with the headquarters of Amnesty International in London, and they are going to be actively looking at what happened to civic rights violations, as well as what happened to jail.
Sorry, let's go ahead, because there are people that are very eager to testify. Tracy Thompson is next.
That really
Tracy
is
Thompson,
my name.
Excuse me, Tracy Thompson has the floor. Thank you.
I am turning over my turn to these people right here.
Buenas noches. This has been a very interesting experience, and probably the most interesting experience for all has been for our children who have watched this process happen. Sage, my son, my partner, and I were on Pine Street, I think, in Madison, I don't know, somewhere on Capitol Hill on Tuesday night, and we're standing a distance away waiting to see what happened, trying to teach our child about democracy as it's supposed to work in this country. Good laugh. As the grenades get launched over the heads of the protesters and land on top of us, and we are forced to run, screaming for our lives, and yelling at the police, there are children here, there are children here, and they look and they don't care. So the most important testimony I think you're going to hear here will be from the children themselves. We have tonight for you Sage, Taina, and Savannah.
Okay, I got good news. I got an idea so the police will get the people free, and the people and the police will never do it again. Well, the story is the police are not good, but we're gonna go, all of us that is in here, we could go like to the judge's room and like tell everybody in here could tell the judge that the police should be punished and go to jail. They should go to jail. They didn't even do nothing. And then other part, the police, it's scary. It's almost kind of like they're like monsters, and they're scary. And I don't like it, but this happiness is gonna be good. But maybe we're gonna win cause we're gonna maybe we're gonna win and take all the police's, we're gonna do good jobs and we're gonna make all the police's be punished and go to jail. They should go to jail. My name's Taina, and I'm gonna tell a story. And I went downtown with my friends, and I almost got pepper sprayed. And my mom's friend life with me and got shot in the eye with a rubber bullet, and I didn't like that. And I think my life with me is gonna take the police to court. And I don't like what the police do. My name is Savannah, and this is my thing I did. I wish the police would not pepper spray the people, and they should not do what they did. Bye.
Thank you. Jordan Jarvis. Number 54 is Jordan Jarvis. Thank you. Followed by Mary McCarthy and Webster Walker.
My name's Jordan Jarvis, and I'd like to start off by identifying the true crime scene here. The true crime was committed by the Seattle government. I moved here to Seattle from Los Angeles to escape the violent chaos of the Southern California Police Department, as well as the change of environmental conditions that is taking place down there. In the 2 years I've been in Seattle, I'm very disturbed by the segregation of the people due to their wealth, race, as well as the high levels of pollutants that are released in our waters and the air here. 30 to 50,000 people gathered to be heard by the world here in Seattle. And just because you people up on the stage and some police officers don't want to hear what they have to say or may disagree with what they have to say does not give you the right to quiet them at all. Especially in the hostile manner that you guys did. That was just disgusting. Is this how you guys plan to handle the New Year's? By adding an additional 850 officers to the streets to keep order? Are you asking for a real riot? Look at the LA riots in '92, okay? I lived down there, I saw it. Is that what you're asking for here on New Year's 2000? Because that's what you're going to get by putting 850 police officers on the streets. You know, think about your actions that you're taking, please. I'm asking you to strongly reconsider your New Year's plans, as well as demanding a personal and global apology from the government of Seattle for the censorship of the protesters. I mean, they censored 50,000 people. I didn't hear what they had to say, and damn did I want to. You know? And it's like saying, if I jumped off a bridge, are you guys going to jump too? I don't think so, but that's what you're asking everyone here to do. You can't do that, and it's not fair. And I'd just like to dedicate the rest of my time to our right to free speech by standing here silently. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Molly McCarthy. I've lived in Seattle for 4 years. I'm a student at Seattle University. I'm 21 years young, and I lost a lot of innocence this week. I grew up in Tumwater, which is south of Olympia, with a lot of really nice police officers for the most part. I trusted them. I trusted my government. I trusted a lot of things. And I think the week of the WTO Ministerial took away a lot of my innocence and a lot of my belief in this system, in this police department, and in this city. And I'm really, really disappointed. I was part of a blockade action on Pine and Boren. And I want to say really quickly, yeah, very successful blockade action. I want to say really quickly that I did have one very positive experience with police officers, especially Officer Hembry of the Seattle Police Department. I've been unable to locate him to thank him. If anybody sees him, tell him thank you for me. He related to us like human beings, and while we had two different goals, ours was to block a road, and his was sort of, I'm assuming, to keep us from blocking that road. He talked to us. We offered people to talk to him, and we related like human beings, like we should all be relating all the time. That was really excellent. But that's where my positive experiences with the police ended. I attempted to work as a legal observer during the protest. This was mostly a waste of my time. One of the things a legal observer is supposed to do is to take down badge numbers. Legal observers kind of watch the police and then can testify at a trial about what happened. When none of the riot cops have badge numbers or any numbers anywhere on them, what am I supposed to do? That one guy, you know, one of the many police officers wearing all black, you know, the one guy wearing all black, that's not going to cut it in a court of law. It's not going to cut it, period. You know, the one with the mustache, because there's just one with a mustache. No, none, almost none. On repeated occasions, I saw never more than 2 out of groups of 10, 15, 20, 30 of the Renton, Auburn, Tukwila Emergency Services Unit ever had badges or badge numbers. I asked them really nicely, you know, I'm not a real offensive person, what's your badge number? How come you don't have your badges on? And they would say, well, we're afraid you're going to rip them off, or, you know, we don't have to show that. And I found that pretty confusing because as far as I knew, the law said that they were supposed to. I don't care if it's a civil emergency, martial law, no protest zone, no democracy zone, or whatever has been declared. Police officers should always have badge numbers so we can identify them and separate them. I think that's really important. I think it's really, really important. Also, quickly, I think it's really important to look into the kinds of gas used. A lot of strange things would happen to a lot of people. I menstruated randomly. I think that's really weird. That's not a normal tear gas reaction for 2 days just out of the middle of nowhere. I want to know why that happened to my body. I want to know why other people are having problems like that with their body, and I hope that that's definitely something you look into. Badge numbers and what kind of gas was it?
Thank you. Webster Walker, followed by Jonathan Moore, and number 58, Kirk Robbins.
Hi, my name is Webster Walker. I'm a full-time student at the University of Washington. And there were rumors going around a couple of days leading up to this public forum that the police were going to try to pack the audience so that they could speak out about the great public support that they're getting for their actions during the week of the Ministerial. And I was really looking forward to this. I was so psyched because this was going to mean that they were going to have to sit here and listen to all this testimony. Where are the police? They need to hear this. They need to watch these videos. They need to, and another thing that they need to do, because I know that just like we're all human beings, the police are all human beings too. There are police out there who know that what they did and what their brothers and sisters out there did was wrong. And they need to step up and speak out publicly about what they saw and what they did. And take responsibility for it because it was wrong. I've got my own little story. It's not tremendously important. I was at Westlake with a group of nonviolent protesters. We were singing the Star-Spangled Banner and other patriotic songs. And we were surrounded by the police and told that if we didn't want to be arrested, we should move off to the side. I and my entire affinity group moved off to the side, where we were then surrounded by the police, and we watched as the rest of the people were arrested. We were then rushed by the police. My friend Asante Riverwind was knocked down, absolutely unprovoked, and we were surrounded and arrested. So that was one of many lies that were told by the police that week, and they continue to tell a lot of lies. In the jail, I was not personally brutalized at any time, although I saw repeated instances of brutality. And one of the things that I want to note, it's just my little story, there were a number of these police officers who were obviously enjoying inflicting pain on people, and when this was pointed out to certain of their supervisors, the only answer we got was, well, some of these people enjoy their work. This is absolutely unacceptable. It's got to be the standard that human rights are respected, and the police have to be there to stand up for human rights if they see their fellow officers abusing human rights and brutalizing people. One of the main things I want to know is the role of federal agencies in the planning and in the decision making about this. I know that's been mentioned before. And I've got just a couple other little things to say. I'd like to echo the call that police be charged, arrested, and prosecuted and jailed for the atrocities that were committed during the week. And this one's for the media. The next time I see the word riot in reference to what happened during the WTO week, I want to see the word police in front of it. That's the only riot that took place.